Have you ever felt like you were standing in front of a bridge that had been burned down? Like the path forward is impossible, but the path behind you, well, that path is gone too. Most people, when they see a broken bridge, they turn around. They go back to what is safe. They go back to what they know, even if what they know is making them miserable. But today, I want to tell you a story about a man named Elias, a man who reached a bridge that was not just broken, but completely destroyed. And what he did next, it changed everything. If you feel like you are at a dead end in your life right now, stay with me. This story is for you. Elias lived in a village that was always covered in gray clouds. It wasn't a bad place, but it wasn't a happy one either. People there lived the same day over and over again. They worked, they ate, they slept, and they complained. Elias was different. He had a dream. He had heard stories of a place called the Valley of Gold, not because it had actual gold, but because the sun always shone there, and the people were filled with purpose. For years, Elias saved his money, he studied maps, he prepared his heart. One morning, while the rest of the village was still sleeping in the gray fog, Elias tied his boots, picked up his walking stick, and started his journey. He walked for days. He walked through thick forests and over steep hills. His legs ached and his back hurt, but his heart was light. He knew that the only way to find a new life was to leave the old one behind. He made a silent promise to himself. No matter what happens, I will not go back. After a week of walking, he reached the Great Ravine. This was the only way to the Valley of Gold. Between him and his dream was a deep, dark canyon with a rushing river at the bottom, and across that canyon was a long, wooden suspension bridge. As Elias got closer, his heart sank. The bridge was a disaster. A massive storm the night before had ripped the wooden planks away. The heavy ropes were frayed and swinging wildly in the wind. Half of the bridge was gone, swallowed by the river below. Elias stood at the edge, looking down into the darkness. He wasn't alone. There were 5 or 6 other travelers standing there too. They looked tired and defeated. One of them, an older man with a bitter face, looked at Elias and laughed. "Forget it, friend," the man said. "The bridge is gone. We're all heading back to the village. It's over." Another woman sighed. "It's a sign. Maybe we weren't meant to reach the valley. At least if we go back now, we can reach home before dark." Elias looked at the broken ropes. He looked at the impossible gap. Then he looked back at the road he had just traveled. He thought about the gray clouds, the unhappy neighbors, and the life he had left behind. He realized something in that moment. Going back was easy. Turning around required no effort. But going back meant returning to a version of himself that he had already said goodbye to. He turned to the other travelers and said, "I can't go back." "Don't be a fool," the old man shouted. "Look at it. There is no bridge. Do you want to die?" Elias didn't answer. He sat down on the dirt and started unpacking his bag. The other travelers left one by one. They walked back the way they came, their heads down, already accepting their old lives again. Elias was alone. The wind howled through the canyon. It started to rain. A cold, biting rain that soaked through his clothes. He was scared. His mind told him, "They're right. You're going to fail. Just go home." But Elias knew a secret. He knew that home wasn't a place he could go back to anymore, because he wasn't the same person who left it. He didn't try to jump the gap. That would be suicide. Instead, he looked at the thick, heavy ropes that were still attached to the stone pillars on his side. He spent the entire night, in the rain and the dark, untying those massive ropes and braiding them together to make them stronger. His hands bled. The rope was rough and filled with splinters. He was exhausted, hungry, and shivering. Every time he wanted to stop, he closed his eyes and pictured the sun in the Valley of Gold. He pictured the man he wanted to become. He realized that the bridge wasn't broken to stop him, it was broken to test how badly he wanted to cross. By dawn, he had created a long, sturdy line. He tied a heavy stone to one end. He threw it across the canyon again and again, failing dozens of times, until finally, the stone wedged itself deep into a crevice on the other side. Now came the hardest part. He had a rope, but he had no floor. He would have to cross the canyon using only his hands and his strength, hanging over the deadly river. Elias stood at the edge. His muscles were screaming. The wind was trying to push him off the cliff. He took a deep breath. He didn't look down at the rocks. He didn't look back at the path home. He looked only at the far side. He grabbed the rope and swung himself out into the empty air. The moment his feet left the ground, fear hit him like a physical blow. His grip slipped for a second. The rope swayed violently. Below him, the river roared like a hungry animal. "One more step," he whispered to himself. "Just one more inch." Hand over hand, he pulled himself across. His fingers felt like they were on fire. His breath came in ragged gasps. Halfway across, he stopped. He was stuck. His strength was gone. He hung there, suspended between life and death. In that silence, he heard the voices of the people who went back. "It's impossible! Come back! Give up!" But then he felt a spark of something inside him. It wasn't just hope. It was a decision. He decided that he would rather fall trying to reach his dream than live a long life in a place where he didn't belong. With a final, desperate burst of energy, he lunged forward. He pulled and pulled until his fingers touched the cold grass on the other side. He dragged his body onto the solid ground and collapsed, sobbing and laughing at the same time. Elias stood up. He was covered in mud, his clothes were torn, and his hands were scarred. But when he looked ahead, the clouds finally broke. The sun hit his face, and there it was, the Valley of Gold, more beautiful than any story had described. He looked back at the canyon one last time. From this side, the bridge didn't look scary. It just looked like a memory. Friends, the broken bridge in your life might be a failed business. It might be a relationship that ended. It might be a mistake that feels like it ruined everything. The world will tell you to turn back. People will tell you that the path is closed, and you should just accept your gray clouds. But remember Elias. The bridge isn't the end of the road. It's the beginning of your character. Sometimes the bridge has to break so that you stop relying on the easy path and start discovering how strong you actually are. Don't go back to the village just because the bridge is broken. Build a new way. Climb the rope. Keep your eyes on the valley. Because the person you become while crossing that gap is worth more than any destination. Never turn back. Your sun is waiting on the other side.